Hi students, this is Mr. Yang. Today we're going to talk about 10.3 where we will learn and review about frequency table. Let's first review some key points about the things we have learned in this unit. Probability notations. We use P of A to represent event A occurring, the probability of event A occurring. Complement, we have these different kind of notations depending on what book you're reading. And the first couple just means not A, and this one would actually should be A then C, kind of like an exponent. That's A complement, which is the one we have been using. Next, or, which is union, which is the probability of A or B or both, emphasizing on both. That's why when we actually shade the Venn diagram, we also shade the middle part. As for the calculation, we're going to add the probabilities separately. Then we're going to subtract the overlapping part because that means we have included it twice, so we need to get rid of once. And then we also learned about intersection, which is and. That is the probability of both events occurring, where we multiply the probabilities, and if we're using the Venn diagram, we're just looking at the overlapping part in the middle. Here's a quick review question about the error in a Venn diagram. Let's say we're trying to calculate the probability of A or B. Equation, we are supposed to do probability of A add the probability of B, then subtracting the probability of A and B. So Sally created this Venn diagram on the right, which you can see only the A part and the B part are shaded, but the middle part is kind of taken off. That is actually not quite right, because if you think about it, the probability of A is this part on the left side, and the probability of B is this part on the right side. So in that case, we have counted the middle part twice. So even though we subtracted it, one of them, we still have this middle part left. So when we actually want to draw it, we should have a Venn diagram that both circles are shaded, including the middle part, because we still have one of them, one repetition left. And if the two events are disjoint, that means they're not even having any overlapping parts. Then we just have an event A and an event B, they're not overlapping. We're just shading A and B. Now move on to the frequency table. A two-way frequency table is a table that shows the total for each category or group of data. So let's have a look. Let's fill out the frequency table. Total. So we're going to add them up. That's 71. 37 plus something that gives us 65. It's going to be a 28 right there. Some number at 31 is going to give us 47. That is going to be 16. And then horizontally, we're also going to add them up to find the total. So 49 and 28 and 31 add together, that is going to be 108. And then 75 plus 108, that's 183. We can also add the last row to check if we got the number right, and we did. Okay, answer the questions. What percent of students surveyed were girls? So girls, that's 108 over 183. We're going to get a decimal first, and then we're going to change it into percent. Decimal is 0.59016. Change to percent, that's 59.02%. We're going to move the decimal to the right twice to change into a percent. Next, what percent of students actually read fantasy book? That is 47 over 183. Same thing, we are going to change it into a decimal. That's 25683. Change into percent, move to the right twice, 25.68%. What percent of students, what percent of those students who like mystery novels are boys? Those students who like mystery novel, so we're just looking at the first column, that is going to be our total. It's not out of 183. So that is going to be 22 out of 71. 22 of the 71 are actually boys. So 22 divided by 71, change into decimal, that's 30985, which we want it to be 30.99%. So that is how we're going to introduce conditional probability from frequency table. For this part C, we have this condition at first that they need to actually read mystery novels, and then we're going to see how many are boys. Let's have a look at more. 100 people are in the big tent for the tryout. 25 of them use fire in their act. The key is it says use fire, it doesn't say use only fire. So 20 use both animal and fire. Let's say the left circle actually represents the fire. And let's say the right circle represents animal. Then the middle part is going to be the overlapping. That's the 20. If that's 20, 25 in total are going to be in the left circle for fire. We have an extra 5 that's going to be in the part that's not being shared. Then 38 use neither animal or fire. So 38 is going to be here. Then we just have this animal part left out. And we know the total is 100 people. So that means all these 4 areas add together is going to equal 100. So 5 plus 20 plus 38 plus something equals 100. That something is going to be 37. To answer the first question, how many of the performers use animal in their act? Also, it just says use animal, it didn't say use only animal. So I'm going to count the circle on the right. So it's 20 plus 37. That is 57. Now we're going to change that into a Venn into a two-way frequency table. First, let's look at this part, the circle on the left, well, the moon shape on the left. That is fire, but there's no animal, so it's fire, not animal. It's going to be right here. 5. Next, we have this middle part, which is fire and animal. That's going to be 20. Then we have this part on the right side, right here. That's just animal, not fire. So that's going to be 37 right here. Lastly, we have the outside, which is not animal or not fire, 38. Now we just need to add them together. That's 25, that's 75, that's 100. Horizontally, that's 57, and that's 43. Now, next question. What information is more obvious from the Venn diagram, and what information is more obvious from the two-way table? So if you have a look, you can kind of think by yourself. And you may notice for a Venn diagram, the both part and the neither part are actually very clear. In the middle, because that's the intersecting, visually you can see very clearly, and the 38 is outside both circles. So that's kind of very clear for Venn diagram. As for the two-way table, you may see all the total actually very clear. So the total of fire, the total of not fire, the total of animal, the total of not animal. So these are visually clearer than the Venn diagram. Now, last question for this one. What is the probability that a randomly selected individual use fire or an animal? Fire or an animal. You can look at the Venn diagram. That means it's going to be the circle inside, including the overlapping part. So 5 plus 20 plus 37 over 100. Simplifies, well, that's 62 out of 100, simplifies to be 31 over 50. You can also think it as, well, I'm counting the fire, which is right here, so 25, but I still need the other animal that's not included in the fire, which is right here. So plus 37 over 100, that can still give us 31 over 50. That's example 2. Now let's practice a bit more. First one, probability of chores, which is 18 out of the total 30. Probability of no curfew, which is right here, that's 8 out of 30. Probability of curfew and chores, right there, 13 out of 33. Last one, chores and no curfew. And no curfew right here, 5 out of 30. That's example 3. Next, we are going to see how we can decide if 2 events are independent or not. 2 events are independent if the probability of A times the probability of B, just separately, is the same as the probability of A and B. So if you think about it, if 2 events are independent, it kind of just means in Venn diagram they are not even overlapping. So we can calculate the probability separately, and then the result is going to be the same of making sure both of them happen. So that kind of makes sense. So let's have a look. Are being male and 10th grade independent? So basically, male is our event A, and 10th grade is our event B. So let's first calculate them separately. Probability of male times probability of 10th grade. Again, these are just separately, the categories are separate. So male is going to be this number, 832 out of 1571. And we have 10th grade, which is the first column. That's 605 out of 1571. If you put in your calculator, 32 divided by 1571, then times 605 divided by 1571. In decimal, that's going to give you, after rounding, 0.20. Now we're going to calculate male and 10th grade, which is going to be guaranteed that both rooms are happening. So it's going to be 320 out of 1571. So same thing, type in your calculator. Decimal you get should also be 0.20. And you may notice, like starting from the fourth digits, they're not exactly the same. They're like a little bit off. But after rounding, because they're super, super close, so we are going to consider them to be the same and thus dependent. Now let's see part B, female and 12th grade. Probability of female times the probability of 12th grade. Female is going to be 739 out of 1571 times 12th grade, right here, 431 over 1571. So same thing, type in your calculator. That is going to give you 0.13. Now, female, not parenthesis back yet, female and 12th grade. That is going to be right here, 216 out of 1571. That is going to be 0.14. Clearly, they're not the same. Even well, with rounding, so we only have 2 digits. They're not even the same. That means it's going to be not independent. That is everything for 10.3. Thank you.